Let's get right into it. Number 10. Clinking Glasses. In medieval times, poisoning was the easiest way to get rid of someone. Kings and nobles were terrified of it. Pope Clement II became pope in 1046. Less than a year later, he was dead. When they dug up his body in the 1940s, they confirmed he was poisoned. People came up with ways to protect themselves. The most common was making your guest drink first, but poisoners had a trick. They'd put poison in only half the cup. The host would drink from the safe side and be fine. The victim would drink from the poison side and die. Clinking glasses solved this problem. When you clink hard enough, the drinks splash into each other. Anyone using the half-cup trick would poison themselves too. People would slam their cups so hard the drinks would mix together. The harder you clinked, the more you proved the drink was safe. Number 9. Knock on wood to shut the spirits up. You know that moment when you're telling your friend how you've never broken a bone, and suddenly you feel this urge to knock on the nearest wooden surface? Our ancient ancestors actually had some pretty solid reasons for this. Back in the day, people believed trees were basically cosmic phone booths for talking to spirits. Ancient Celtic and Germanic tribes thought every tree had a spirit living inside it. These weren't your friendly Casper-type spirits either. They were more like that nosy neighbor who's always eavesdropping on your conversations. So when someone said something good about their life, like "my crops are doing great this year," they believed these tree spirits would get jealous and try to mess things up. The solution was to give the tree a quick knock to shut those spirits up before they could hear your good news. It's like hitting the mute button on a cosmic Zoom call. Some historians think the modern version might have come from a children's game called Tiggy Touchwood. In this game, if you touched wood, you couldn't get tagged. Our ancestors turned a kid's game of tag into a worldwide spirit-silencing ritual. So next time you catch yourself knocking on wood, you're participating in an ancient tradition of telling nosy tree spirits to mind their own business. Number 8. Black cats as ship insurance. Black cats are supposed to be bad luck, but not if you were a sailor. Back in the day, having a black cat on your ship was like having the best insurance policy money could buy. It started because cats were literally saving entire crews from dying horrible deaths. On these old wooden ships, rats were a massive problem. They weren't just eating the food supplies. These little monsters would chew through the ropes that controlled the sails. Imagine being in the middle of a storm, trying to adjust your sails, and suddenly the rope snaps because some rat had a midnight snack. These rats were also carrying diseases. One infected rat could wipe out an entire crew before they even reached the next port. When sailors noticed that black cats were the best hunters, they became more valuable than gold. Their black fur made them nearly invisible in the dark corners of the ship, where rats liked to hide. Sailors also started noticing that cats could predict storms. Cats can detect changes in atmospheric pressure. When a storm was coming, they'd get super agitated. Smart sailors learned to watch their ship's cat. If the cat started acting weird, they'd prepare for bad weather. These cats weren't just pest control, they were living weather radars. For centuries, black cats were the difference between life and death at sea. Number 7. The Pig and Rooster Tattoos. Some sailors have tattoos of pigs and roosters on their feet. This isn't just some random drunk decision at a port town tattoo parlor. Back in the old days of wooden ships, livestock was transported in wooden crates. They were built to be sturdy, and they could float. When ships went down, and this happened way more often than you'd think, these wooden crates would often be the only things left floating. Inside them were pigs and roosters. These animals would often be the only survivors of shipwrecks, bobbing around in their makeshift lifeboats. If you were a sailor in the 1800s, every time you heard about a shipwreck, the only survivors were these two animals. It's like pigs and roosters had some kind of magical protection against drowning. So sailors started thinking if they got these animals tattooed on their feet, they wouldn't drown either. The feet part wasn't random. It's like having your own personal floating device, just way more painful to install. If you ever see these tattoos on an old sailor, there's a good chance they've seen some of their friends disappear into the ocean. These weren't just fashion statements. They were like a medieval life insurance policy written in ink and blood. Number 6. Don't whistle backstage. Theater people freak out if you whistle backstage. This started with sailors, heavy things, and really bad timing. Back in the day, theaters would hire sailors to work backstage. These guys were perfect for the job because they knew all about ropes, pulleys, and lifting heavy stuff. They'd use the same whistle signals they used on ships to coordinate moving scenery around. Different whistles meant different things. One whistle might mean, lift that 200-pound backdrop. Another might mean, drop it now. An actor's whistle could trigger a sailor to drop 200 pounds of scenery on someone's head. Actors got flattened by falling backdrops. Number 5. The upside-down bread curse. You're in France, enjoying breakfast at a cute little cafe. You accidentally flip your baguette upside down and suddenly everyone at your table gasps in horror. Back in medieval France, executioners had an awkward situation when it came to grocery shopping. Nobody wanted to bump into the guy who might be chopping off their cousin's head next week. So bakers came up with a solution. They'd set aside one special loaf of bread for the executioner, and to mark it as the death bread, they'd place it upside down. Think of it like medieval DoorDash, but instead of a red delivery bag, you got an upside-down loaf. This system worked great for everyone. The baker didn't have to face the executioner didn't have to deal with awkward small talk, and regular customers knew which bread to avoid. Over time, people started associating any upside-down bread with death and bad luck. It's like the medieval version of a cursed emoji. The superstition got so serious that people came up with a way to uncurse flipped bread. You had to quickly mark a cross on it with your knife, kind of like hitting undo on death's delivery order. Even today, some French people still freak out about upside-down baguettes. Imagine being so powerful that centuries after your job stopped existing, people still worry about your bread preferences. Number 4. Don't put shoes on a table. So you're at home, cleaning your new sneakers, and your mom freaks out because you put them on the kitchen table. This superstition actually comes from something pretty dark. This all started in old mining towns. If a miner died in an accident, his family would place his work boots on the kitchen table. It was like their way of saying, he's not coming home for dinner anymore. You're a miner's wife, and one day instead of your husband walking through the door, his muddy boots show up on your kitchen table. That's the last piece of him you'll ever see. This happened so often that people started associating shoes on tables with death. It's like how we now associate the sound of a phone ringing at 3 a.m. with bad news. In some mining communities, they had this saying, shoes on the table, death in the mine. Number 3. Theater ghosts and asbestos curtains. Every old theater claims to have a ghost. A lot of these haunted theaters actually do have something deadly lurking in them. Asbestos. Back in the day, theaters used these massive fireproof curtains made of asbestos. These curtains were huge. We're talking several tons of pure asbestos hanging right above the stage. Every time they raised or lowered these things, they released tiny invisible fibers into the air. The actors and stagehands breathed this stuff in day after day, year after year. Then people started getting mysteriously sick. They'd develop these weird coughs that wouldn't go away. Some would waste away for no apparent reason, and others would just disappear. Well, not literally disappear. They died from asbestos-related diseases, but in those days, the real cause was a total mystery. So when John the stagehand suddenly dropped dead after working at the theater for 20 years, people didn't blame industrial toxins. They blamed angry theater ghosts. When Sarah the costume designer started coughing up blood, they didn't think, hey, maybe it's all that dust we're breathing in. Nope. They decided the theater must be cursed. The really dark part is some of these asbestos curtains are still hanging in old theaters today. They're sealed up now, but they're too dangerous to remove. So next time someone tells you about a haunted theater where people mysteriously got sick and died, maybe check when they installed their fire curtain. Turns out some ghost stories are actually workplace safety violations in disguise. Number 2. The Scottish play's real curse. Back in Shakespeare's time, they didn't have fancy rubber props or plastic swords. They used real weapons on stage. The play has so many fight scenes that actors kept getting hurt. The accidents got so bad that people started believing the play was cursed. They thought Shakespeare had accidentally written real witch spells into the script. The superstition got so serious that actors refused to say the name Macbeth in theaters. That's why they call it the Scottish play instead. Even today, if you say Macbeth in a theater, actors will make you go outside, spin around 3 times, spit, and knock to be let back in. But all these curse stories started because the props were lethally real. It wasn't magic that was hurting people. It was just really bad workplace safety standards. Number 1. Friday the 13th. The original Black Ops raid. Friday the 13th isn't just some made-up superstition. It started with what might be history's first coordinated Black Ops raid. It's October 13th, 1307. You're a Knight Templar sleeping peacefully in your bed. Suddenly, before dawn, armed soldiers burst through your door. This wasn't happening just to you. It was happening to every single Templar across France at the exact same time. King Philip IV had secretly sent out sealed orders to his men all across the country. These orders weren't to be opened until the night of October 12th. Inside was a very simple command. Arrest every Templar you can find. The Templars were warrior monks who protected pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem, but they had a side hustle that made them medieval Europe's biggest bank. They invented the first checking system and were loaded with gold. King Philip was broke and desperately needed that gold, but he couldn't just rob them. He needed an excuse, so he came up with some wild accusations. He claimed the Templars were devil worshippers who spat on the cross during secret ceremonies. The king's men arrested thousands of Templars that Friday morning. Then came the torture. The Grand Master of the Templars, Jacques de Molay, held out for a while, but after 7 years of torture, even he broke. Then, after confessing, he changed his mind and said it was all lies, so they burned him at the stake. Right before the flames took him, he cursed both King Philip and Pope Clement V. He said they'd both be dead within a year. They actually did die within a year. The Pope died from a mysterious illness. King Philip was out hunting when something spooked his horse. The horse threw him off, and that was the end of King Philip. Some people say it was just coincidence. Others say it was the Templar curse. That's how Friday the 13th became known as an unlucky day. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.